Welcome to the first ever episode of When Life Hands You Lemons, the podcast where I will hand you music industry advice and you apply it to your own professional career. So this first episode, I'm going to talk about how moving away from home and out of your comfort zone can really allow you to learn about yourself, and it can also be life-changing. For me, I moved from a small town up in Minnesota, and I moved across the country down to Florida to pursue my passion, which is the music industry and music production, music theory, anything music, honestly, and attend my dream college, which was Full Sail University. Let me kind of kick off the series with my story and kind of how I came about and kind of building up my credibility, I guess you could say. Many years ago, back when I was in 9th grade, I guess, I saw an advertisement on a YouTube video. I was learning about electronic music production. I thought in the back of my mind, I always had this intuition, this kind of little voice saying that music industry, and all that stuff. I clicked on the advertisement and I discovered Full Sail. This was my initial discovery of Full Sail. And I continued to do some research. I knew that I wanted to be in the music industry. Was the school right for me? And upon doing some more research, I really discovered what Full Sail and its atmosphere is all about. And that was really hard work, persistence, and networking. And those traits continue through this day. Anytime I meet with a Full Sailer, anytime I meet with honestly anybody outside of school or following their passion, I tell them those things because I was ingrained with those things at Full Sail University. When I continued my research on Full Sail, I learned that the workload was extremely immense. It was very immersive. It was a very hands-on school. And I'm a hands-on learner, just like a lot of people are. Some people would rather learn by reading from a book, and some people learn by actually doing. I came to the conclusion that yes, Full Sail was absolutely, in fact, the correct school for me. When I applied to Full Sail, I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew what my financial situation was going to be like. I knew the scholarship opportunities that the school had. I knew what the workload was going to be like. I knew everything about the school, whereas a lot of people apply and then they get handed all these, well, they're new to them, these new concepts for them where it's so expensive, or the workload is 40 hours a week, or you don't have this, you don't do that. It's very different from a conventional college or traditional college, I guess you could say. That didn't push me away because I knew going into Full Sail exactly what I was going to be handed. And not being handed any surprises from the get-go made this transition and following my dream that much more efficient and that much more convenient and productive, I guess you could say. Transitioning back to doing a little bit more research on Full Sail and kind of finishing off high school, through 9th through 12th grade, if I could kind of omit the details in high school because I come from a small town, so the courses were very limited. We weren't provided with many creative opportunities. I mean, there's theater and there was like a change of pace, and there were a few things in like the arts department, but small school, there was very limited resources for creative individuals to pursue. And I knew that I was going to be in the music industry, and unfortunately there were no music industry courses or anything about digital audio workstations or even music theory. We learned a little bit in choir, but it was nothing extensive that, if you wanted to go on to school to be like a piano performance major, there was nothing that you could do to kind of prepare yourself, I guess, for the coursework. I kind of got a little bit lazy. I'm not going to lie. I took some courses that I knew that Full Sail wouldn't really look at. The main thing they looked at was your GPA, and I kind of thought, well, even if I fail this class that Full Sail's never even going to look at, they don't really care. All they need to see is your GPA, because as long as your GPA is above like 3.4, 3.2, they pretty much accept you. And so I was taking some courses filler courses essentially that were way above my interest and brain capacity, I guess you could say. Like one of them was an advanced physics course, and I had no interest in physics. It was very complex. So I took it, and thankfully I had a good friend of mine that was very smart in this field help me out. But I got a little bit lazy because I'm like, Full Sail ain't going to look at this. But knowing this information, Full Sail isn't going to look at this. They just want my final grade. And even if I fail this course, I'm still good to go. So in the summer of 2014, we came down to tour Full Sail. We attended their BTS tour behind the scenes. And I fell in love. All the research that I did online, all the videos I watched, all the blog reviews I read, and some people that I spoke with kind of came together and kind of confirmed any suspicions I had about the school and the passion and my dream. I had dreamed of going to Full Sail for 5 years. I had, owned merchandise like a shirt. I had a cup and everything. And I was literally living, breathing, and living for Full Sail. It was just like pretty much I felt at home immediately when I stepped foot on that campus. And when I closed the door to my car to tour Full Sail, I knew that I was home. I was surrounded by very, very like-minded individuals. I was there in support. Well, my family was with me in support, my mom and my 2 brothers. And I was being supported by them as well as the people at the school and the people that were touring the school with me. And that really inspired me to be surrounded by so many like-minded individuals, because these are people that would understand the technical jargon that I could speak in digital audio workstations or marketing or video or photography or music business or whatever it may be. These people would understand. And it was just very eye-opening and very inspiring to be actually there, and it was very surreal. It really was. So in September of 2014, a couple months after my behind-the-scenes tour, had applied shortly after the behind-the-scenes tour and was accepted. And I began Full Sail's hybrid program, which is 4 months online and then you have to be on campus. But in September of 2014, I started online. And in November of that year, I booked another little quick vacation down here to Florida with my aunt to look at a few apartments. And we found one, and I was able to sign the lease. And then the rest is history. I moved down here at the beginning of January in 2015. So I could attend Full Sail on campus, which is what I had to do because of the hybrid program. And the rest is history. I graduated in August of 2016 with my Bachelor of Science degree in music production. And I loved everything about Full Sail. I was provided with so many opportunities. And it was the best decision I ever made, was moving away from small town Minnesota to attend my dream college and pursue my passion, which was music, and then pursue my dream of being in the music industry. The opportunities that I have been provided thus far have not come easily. I have worked very, very, very hard to obtain the knowledge, the skills, and the opportunities that I have at this moment. And I'm forever thankful, and I'm forever proud of myself, my family, friends, and all those around me that support me. The last half or 3/4 of this podcast, I kind of want to discuss why moving away to pursue your dream and kind of motivating those that have a dream but aren't quite sure what to do with it yet. I moved from small town Minnesota to pursue my dream, college, and career. I want to push that on those who are also inspired and motivated but don't quite have that. They need that one last push to kind of pull the trigger, I guess. Doing that opens up an entire world of opportunities. Whether your dream is to work for a certain company in a different state, a different country, it can be extremely beneficial. And it's not for everybody, however. That's a small disclaimer, because I did have a few friends that unfortunately Full Sail did not work out for them, and they had moved back, or they had decided on a different career path. But for me, small town Minnesota boy, moving away from home was a must for me. There's no opportunities up where I'm from. I was exposed to a myriad of different cultures, different religions, different people, activities. These people, these cultures, these different religions have changed my entire outlook on life, really, in a good way. I'm constantly learning about all the aforementioned things, different cultures, different religions, different people, activities, everything. I've learned to be open-minded and respect those that are different, that have different views, that have different tastes, that have different fashion, that have different tastes in music. I've learned to accept that, and not everybody is going to be the same or have the same likes as me. And that's what makes us all unique. There's an Ellen DeGeneres episode, some of my favorite, where she has a caller in. And this old caller's name is Gladys, and she lives in Texas. If we all sang the same note in choir, we'd never have harmony. And if you really think about it, if we're all singing the same note in choir, nobody's going to be different. And having harmony is a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing. That quote has really stuck with me. And I really kind of live by that when I'm meeting somebody new and being exposed to something I've never been exposed to before. Alongside of being open-minded and learning about all these different cultures and religions and people, moving away really gave me a complete change of pace. And for me, it was absolutely necessary because there are no opportunities up in small town Minnesota for me. There just aren't. And sometimes to pursue your passion, that, especially in the music industry, that can be very imperative that you relocate. Relocating is key. Once you get that change of pace, you're kind of forced to grow up. This is something that some people my age still haven't done. I see it all the time. There's still people out that don't have their priorities straight. There's still kids that haven't enrolled in school, but they want to be a doctor, but they're still not sure what they want to do. Moving away forces one to grow up and really learn. Another thing that I really learned, don't have a backup plan. If you have a backup plan, you're going to fall back on it. And I'm reading a book now called How to Make It in the New Music Business by Ari Herstand. And he had reiterated that and kind of reinforced how important that is. Musicians that have a backup plan, they say, I'm going to have a regional tour in the next 6 months, or I'm going to have a regional tour in the next year. But if I don't have a regional tour, then I'm going to have a local tour in the next 10 months. So having that backup plan is only going to force you to kind of, not force you, but kind of make you think and kind of second guess your bigger goal. So then you start getting, like me, you get kind of lazy and you come up with excuses and things happen. Life happens. I get that. We've all been there. So you start falling back on your backup plan. So then you push your goal of having a regional tour booked by the end of the year. That gets pushed till next year. Oh, I'll do it next year. And then next year comes and you have another backup plan and life happens again. It happens more often than not. You say, I'm going to have a regional tour by the end of this year. You're going to have a regional tour by the end of the year. It's that simple. It's really not that simple. But it's easier said than done is what I was getting at. That's another thing I learned when I was at Full Sail and going through my courses and learning, doing a bunch of extracurricular activities at Full Sail, was not to have a backup plan. Another thing that I really learned about myself after I had moved away was anxiety. I've learned how to manage it. I've learned how to deal with it. I've addressed it. I didn't really want to address it before, and I didn't really want to acknowledge that I had something wrong. But I learned that having something like that, it's okay to address it, and it's better to address it earlier than later. I am on medication to help. But another thing I've learned to do was make a list to help me stay organized. When I write things down, whether it be something as simple as sweep the kitchen floor or do laundry, if I have a physical piece of paper with stuff I need to get done and I have to check it off, I feel more accomplished and I feel my mind feels so much more clear. And having to not deal with anxiety, while having not deal with it as severe as it was prior to having addressed it, has really helped immensely. Another thing on top of making a list was planning ahead of time. If I had an event at Full Sail that was this Friday and Saturday, like for example, if I had to work WWE through Spark on Friday and Saturday, then on Monday, which is when our homework assignments opened up for the week, I would have my homework done and completed by Tuesday for class. I would not procrastinate. So my assignments were usually due, they would open up midnight on Monday and they were due Sunday at 11:59. So once they opened up, I would download all the materials. I would read through them. If time allotted, I would start working on them. Oftentimes I would be able to complete them in a very timely manner and bring them to class and then show my instructor, sometimes show classmates, get some feedback from the instructor and everything. I would be able to complete the assignment, do the revisions, and then have the total assignment, the complete assignment done by Tuesday or Wednesday, and then have the rest of the week free. So if and when something came up, which it did way more often than I thought it would, I would get a call or an email saying, "Hey, Lennon, can you come in? We need some extra help," or "Hey, we need this," or "Can you do this on Saturday? We need an extra audio guy." And because I had my homework done Tuesday or Wednesday, I was able to take that opportunity. And another thing for some people would be like budgeting. For me, I had a loan to help me with my living expenses and whatnot. So budgeting, I did budget a little bit, but when you're doing 60 hours a week at Full Sail and you have many extracurricular activities, it's one of those things that you don't really want to do. You just want to run to the grocery store, you want to run to Wendy's and grab something quick, go home, get some rest, and then start your day again. I've mentioned all of this stuff that I've accomplished, and a lot of stuff that I haven't mentioned that I want to accomplish yet in my career and in my life. I want to kind of push it on you and kind of get you thinking as a professional. Do you have a dream? I want you to think about that. Your dream can be as simple as playing at a local talent show. Your dream could be traveling to the bordering state and playing for an open house or playing for a new audience of, say, 30 people. It doesn't have to be big to get started. Or it can be something as simple as traveling. Where do you want to travel to? Do you have a dream location? The thing is, where do you have that dream? Where do you want to take your dream? How far do you want to take that dream? And how far will you allow yourself to take your dream? That's a big thing right there, the last one. How far will you allow yourself to take that dream? Now, things come up, like I mentioned, assignments come up, but prioritizing and planning ahead will greatly reduce the limit of where you can take your dream. So, for example, are you going to sit back and make a plan that, oh, I want to do this? I want to intern at a studio in New York by the end of this year. What are the necessary steps that you need to take to get to that dream? And that's one thing I learned was to really navigate yourself. Sit down and think, what are you doing now that's helping you get to your dream? What are you doing now that is holding you back from your dream? So, for example, if you don't have a job, that's probably something that's holding you back from your dream. If you have a job that's paying you well, then that's probably something that can work for you. I had quite a few jobs back in high school and middle school that I was able to save money and invest in some gear like software and speakers and all this stuff because I knew that I wanted to be in the music industry. So I didn't know where I wanted to go to school, like in middle school when I got my speakers and everything and got into electronic music production. But I knew that I wanted to do something with music. I just didn't know where I was going to take it at that point. But as I continued to refine my goals and aspirations, I quickly started positioning myself and working for opportunities that would benefit me and getting me to my goal, which was later attending Full Sail and pursuing my passion in the music industry. That meant omitting a few people from my life. That meant working many extra hours at work so I could save some money. That meant not partying every weekend and spending tons and tons of money on unnecessary things, which I will admit I still do to this date a little bit. You need to sit back and think, what do I want to do to pursue my passion? What do I need to do in order to accomplish what I want to accomplish? And for me, that was doing my due diligence with research, mentally preparing, taking opportunities that were benefiting me and getting me to Full Sail, ultimately, really just kind of making it happen. Some people, they say they want to do this, they say they want to do that, but they never do it. They say it because I think it makes them look better for some reason. But something to me that's more attractive is when somebody says they're going to do something and they do it. That is much more attractive than, yeah, I'm going to be a hip hop producer for Kanye. All they do is listen to music. They don't learn how to sample. They don't learn how to use any digital audio workstation. They don't know anything about music theory. They're not taking any necessary steps to get to being a producer with Kanye. Of course, being a producer for Kanye would be a massive goal, but that doesn't mean you can't there aren't mini goals or sub goals, as we can call them, that can get you there, that can help you take the necessary steps. So step one was to move away and pursue my passion. Number two was to learn a little bit more about music theory, music production itself, and the music business. And step three was to kind of act. What do I need to do? What don't I know that somebody said I should know? If somebody says, you should probably learn what a PRO is. Okay, and what are the three main ones in the United States? Okay, and one of them you need to be invited to. Which one is that? Those types of detail are very, very, very crucial. And that's what makes me stand out amongst other artist managers or other professionals. Another one would be copyright. A lot of people, they don't even know what copyright is really. And a copyright basically protects a piece of art. So, for example, in the music world, and I've discussed this in an article in a previous podcast I was in with Making It with Chris G, which I'll put in the show notes. We discussed copyrights a little bit. A very common misconception with copyrights is that people think that they can just take whatever song that they want and use it however they please. And sadly, you can't do that without the proper permission from the copyright owner. Then their rebuttal is, well, I only use 3 seconds. That doesn't matter. If I take your car and I paint it red, that's still your car. If I take your car and I only drive it up the block, it's still your car. They can say, well, I pitched it and I pitched it up, I pitched it down, I added all these different effects. Yeah, well, I can take your car and I can put new wheels on it and I can paint it and I can cut the roof off and turn it into a convertible, but that's still your car. It's the same thing with copyright. A lot of people also say, well, I'm not making any money off of it. Well, I can take your car and I'm not driving for Uber. That's still Grand Theft Auto. It's the same thing with copyright. If you want to use somebody's piece of art or work, and you need to ask. I've written about this in an EDM article, which will also be in the show notes. I can also link to Making It with Chris G's podcast with Davey J, where they talk about copyrights and a lot of the misconceptions that artists have. A lot of those things make me stand out amongst the rest. But back to my main point, what dreams, goals, and aspirations do you have? And what are you going to do to accomplish those? Are you going to quit your day job and get a different job that's maybe more focused on your career path? Are you going to go to school? What do you need to do to get to your goal? That pretty much covers the podcast that I wanted to talk about today. But I talked on a little bit where I came from, how I came through Full Sail, what I did in Full Sail, and how I accomplished what I accomplished at Full Sail, and why moving away can be so beneficial for someone. It gives you a change of pace. It gives you a different outlook on society, on the world, on people, cultures, religions, anything and everything in between. It has been a real eye-opener for me. It was the best decision I ever made, and I'm thankful for those that have been involved and those that have supported me in this endeavor, in this crazy dream of my passion for the music industry. I want to thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the mailing list, as well as support me on Patreon. Every little bit helps. I want you to remember to continue positioning yourself as the only logical choice. One of my favorite quotes from Full Sail alumni and engineer Demo Castellan. I hope that I've inspired you to follow your dream and your passions. Thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of When Life Hands You Lemons. All of the names, companies, and products mentioned in this episode will be in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe to my email list to receive updates when a new episode is live, as well as music industry tips and tricks. Please be sure to leave a 5-star review, as it greatly helps this podcast be discovered. You can also support me on Patreon. The links will be in the show notes below.